Many folks still sharing their remembrances of Richard Roundtree, the towering actor we lost at the age of 81 just a couple days ago due to pancreatic cancer. He, of course, best known for playing John Shaft, but he did so much more than that, appeared in many more movies and TV shows, and he absolutely was a beacon for a whole host, two generations of black male actors. One of them, Michael T. Williamson, who joins us right now. Brother, glad to have you here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. When we text the day we got the news, you talked about just how huge he was in your life.
Yeah, that's true. Good to see you, Roland. Greetings to your audience as well. It's a little tough for me because Tree was one of my big brothers. There's a lot of the giants have been just Dr. Bernie Casey's gone. Sidney Poitier is gone, and it just Jim Brown, Jim's transition, and these are the guys I learned from. But Richard they were all so unique. The thing about Richard, it's like Jim got on me the first time I met him. Jim really checked me real hard on a set because he said, "Stop smiling so goddamn much." And it shocked me because I was in such a good mood, man. I needed a check. I'm working. Everybody's being nice to me. He told me, "Stop doing all that grinning," right? And then I remember sharing that with Tree, and Tree started laughing. He said, "Man, don't pay no attention to Jim. You know, he's looking out for you, but he just got a different way." Tree he was elegance, he was fun, he was dangerous, he was everything that a movie star is. I mean, he was the biggest thing cooking, man. He was just a phenomenal human being, but he was a badass, but he was a gentleman at the same time. He was all that stuff at the very same time. Very unique individual, very unique individual, very unique man.
Do you think he really understood how black folks felt about him and what that character just meant, especially to brothers?
Yeah, he did. Roundtree knew it was an honor, but it was a responsibility. Like Sidney would say, Mr. Portier would say, it's a tremendous responsibility that comes with being who you are, where you are. It's when the cameras point at you, you have to represent excellence all the time. And that's what Richard did in a different way than Sidney Poitier did it, in a different way than Dick Anthony Williams did it, in a different way than Billy D. Williams did it. And all these guys, all of them, big brothers, man, those are the guys we looked up to and asked questions. The great, the legendary, the living legend, Glenn Turman. I learned how to hit a mark and how to stand in my own light, following Glenn around, going to the store, picking up potato chips and bringing them back. Whatever Glenn wanted, I went and got it for him. Richard was that to a whole lot of us as well. I just look at these filmmakers, man. It's, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. It's a little tough right now. I was trying to get Glenn to come talk to you, but he's not ready.
Well, yeah, I texted Glenn the other day,
Yeah.
and I knew how close they were.
Yeah.
I didn't ask him, but we live streamed Richard's 80th birthday party, and we ran the interview that I did with Glenn talking about him. But I knew it was gonna be too tough for him to talk about losing Richard.
Yeah, well, I was on the road as I am now, so I wasn't able to get together with all the cats who went and saw him a few days before he transitioned. But I know that they had a cigar together and were able to lift his spirits a bit. And a couple of days later, we all got word that he had made his transition. I can't thank Richard Roundtree enough for the way that he represented himself as a man, but also the way he represented us as a people. He and Muhammad Ali were the two men who told me that no matter how high you go, you'll always be a nigger in the eyes of some of these people. And I had a problem with that. The first person to tell me that was Muhammad Ali. And then Richard Roundtree told me the same thing. And I didn't want to accept it. I figured that everybody wouldn't look at the industry, wouldn't look at me the way that they thought, the way that Tree and all the other brothers had been treated, Fred Williamson and so on. But it's true. You'll always be black. Embrace it. As much fun as it is being black,
Yep.
it's like now there's a lot of people who want to be black. They just don't want to give up the white privilege. They lay in the sun and tan and all this stuff. But it's a different set of rules for other folks than there is for us. And it's absolutely the truth. But it shouldn't demotivate you. It should actually fire your ass up so you keep rolling, you know. And I would never want to punk out and let it make me bitter because I got too much work to do, man. I got folks I need to represent. And we really have to step up now that the giants that ushered us in, you know, are starting to leave us, man. It's there's a lot of food for thought. There's a lot to think about right now.
Indeed. Michael T. Williamson, I would appreciate you sharing your reflections about
You
Richard
got it.
Roundtree.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Thank you for your love for Richard. All
Appreciate
right,
it.
bye,
Thanks a
everybody.
bunch.
You got
Thank
it.
you. The thing here, what he said there, Joe, I think is critically important. But also, loss is a natural part of life, which means those who sat under those giants later become giants.
Absolutely.
And our job is to do it to the next generation.
And to do it to the next generation and to remind us, Brother Williamson's accomplished a lot in this business, but I would have asked him to remind us of how hard it is. We lose perspective if we're 20, 30, 40, 50 years old. Maybe we didn't see Richard Roundtree, in the first black exploitation films, et cetera, and Fred Williamson and Jim Brown. But it's a grind and it's hard and it's still hard, even though we're seeing more, not just getting the work, but getting the roles. And so he has a great grasp of what it's going to take and stepping forward. And it's wonderful that Richard Roundtree gets to rest easy because of how much him and other folks have influenced this next generation. And hopefully we can keep it moving and just be reminded of who we are and that it's not easy.
Also, keep in mind, go to my iPad. Obviously for us, Randy, we are fans. We lose an icon. But what you're seeing here, these are Richard's children. This was from his 80th birthday. And for them, they've lost a father. They've lost a grandfather. I had an opportunity to chat with one of them earlier today. I mean, they are grieving. This was the patriarch. And so, again, he played the patriarch on a lot of different shows, but for him, he was a patriarch in real life.
Think about his family, because even now that he has transitioned, they are having to share this grieving period with us, right? Because he meant something to us. And we do have to remember that, of course, their grief is much deeper. But at the same time, I'm sure they're very aware that the entire country, I mean, the world feels the loss of him already. He was bigger than a man. Right, he was an icon, and he represented so much. He was just cool, right? Just cool, and I think it had to be powerful. I'm sure for Black men to see him and to see him be a hero. And sometimes when it feels like you're being beaten up all the time, to see where there's a Black man who's not. But let me just also speak for the ladies. I mean, this is a beautiful Black man. Till the end, just beautiful Black man, and we enjoyed seeing that as well.
It's interesting. We were just playing some video there from the premiere of Shaft, And I mean, while we were just sitting here, Greg, I completely forgot that we were at the American Black Film Festival on the red carpet for that. And I was sitting there, I was like, hold on, let me pull this up. And so go to my iPad because, hold on one second, I'm switching iPads, so hold on, don't go yet. I forgot that as I was talking to Jesse T. Usher, Mr. Smooth himself stepped on up. Now you can take it. Hold on one second. We should have it in a second.
You did the right thing. The pink linen is a good look on you. Although the ascot is your classic.
Right. But so I'm gonna bring it back out because see, I sat it down because folks were expecting it, and I can't have folks expecting it.
You're absolutely right about that. You got to shake them up sometimes.
I hit them with the African stuff at Essence Fest last year. They lost their mind.
They ain't know what to do.
Don't buy it.
So, baby, what's going on, my man Richard Roundtree? Is he a worthy heir to the Shaft mantle?
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
He's got the last baton. He's got the last leg. It's on him.
Bring it home.
Now I got to ask you this here, because somebody will be 77 next month. Yet when he walked into the room, all the women will still, I mean, does it make you feel a little inadequate when you like?
Heck no. This is Shaft right here. This is the original Shaft. Absolutely not. It would make me feel less than coming onto this project if that didn't happen. But the fact that it does, it makes me feel even better.
This young brother can hold his own. I'm so proud of him.
Thank you.
To see the way he evolved and handled his shit.
Go ahead. Don't worry about it. My show's called Roland Unfiltered.
Hello.
We can cuss. I own it.
Perfect.
To see him handle his stuff and his transition was a beautiful thing to watch. And my son overseeing what he was doing, and then the two of them learning from each other from different points of view, the millennial and old school, and I just sat back and watched.
Now, I'm gonna have him tell this story because I tell this story all the time. Where your daddy told you, I use this in speeches all the time. Because you used to be bothered with people calling you John Shaft, and your daddy had to let you know something. Tell everybody what your daddy told you.
He says, son, a lot of people leave this earth not being known for nothing. Shut up.
Sounds about right. Sounds like something my dad would have said.
And ever since then, you've embraced John Shaft.
Indeed, yeah. There are days when I get a little full of myself, but the bottom line is, at this point in the game, when I'm gainfully employed and this guy has legs, and my sister is standing over there with my niece, and she says, "Hey, Johnny Roundtree." Oh, all right. It's all good.
Now, Father's Day is this Sunday.
Hello.
And I want both of y'all to speak about this. Shaft for me has always been about black manhood. Cool, confident, smart, sophisticated, sexy. And that image is important to have that kind of brother on the big screen.
Absolutely. No, 100%. I agree with you. You know, when we talk about black excellence, we talk about manhood, we talk about father figure, questionable, but at the same time, this film clears all that up. And what you get to see is the three generations of that same character come together and find common ground and create a man in this new generation of millennials. Kind of teach him what it means to hold that level of respect and community. You know what I mean? Which is something that we can argue is missing in today's young men. So it's nice to see the older gentlemen come in and clarify that and teach him that there's something that you need to take from the generations before you.
I think he pretty much said it. The difference, what I would add to it is where we come from and all the history and being a man and passing that on to the younger generation. And there is no one, to my knowledge, that can pass that on better than Sam. You feel me?
All right, Richard Roundtree. Always good seeing you, baby. You my man.
Pleasure to see you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I know we're gonna hit some spot again this time.
Yo, wherever you want to go, man.
Wow. Yeah, I completely forgot about that. Totally forgot about that. Hold on one second. I'm going to go to a break. We're going to come back. I'm definitely going to get Joe's comment, Greg's comment. Miguel Nunez is up next, bottom of the hour. Leon is going to be joining us. But also Mark Curry is going to be joining us, where he said, I personally picked Richard Roundtree to play my daddy on Hanging with Mr. Cooper. Folks, you're watching in retrospective. Celebrate the life and legacy of Richard Roundtree, now an ancestor at the age of 81, right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, Dave.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Devon Franklin. It is always a pleasure to be in the house. You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Stay right here.
Joining us right now is actor Miguel Nunez. Glad to have Miguel on the show. Miguel, just your thoughts, reflections on the great Richard Roundtree. Miguel, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
There we go. All right, there we go.
How are you doing, brother?
All good, all good.
Listen, you know, man, I came up when Richard Roundtree came about. You gotta remember, when Shaft came about, it was back in a time where, black man, he kind of had to keep his head down early on when Shaft came about. So when Shaft came around, he started kicking ass and taking names. It just made you feel so good as an actor. It was like, I want to do that one day. I want to play that kind of role. I want to play a role where I can get back and I don't have to take. I think he gave so much to the psyche. I think he gave much more than just entertainment. He gave a lot to uplift, to spring us forward. That's what I thought.
Well, Spike Lee called him Black Superman.
Absolutely, because that's what you felt like. When you see Shaft, you saw this black man just kicking ass, and it was like, you were like, yeah! And you hadn't seen nobody like that before then. I hadn't. Like, here we go.
Well, and here's the other deal. Even to this day, here's how iconic a role is. If you are a black man and you go buy a long leather coat, somebody gonna say, you think your ass John Shaft?
Absolutely, 100%. Yep. And every time somebody, hush your mouth, that'll last forever as well.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's all of that, all of that.
And he was one of the nicest guys you will ever meet in your entire life, ever.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And I think that, as I said, Michael T was on. I think our job is that when we lose a giant, lose a great, those of us who met them, who knew them, who learned from them, our responsibility is now, they become ancestors, to now do the exact same thing to others that they did for us.
That's exactly what I'm trying to do, brother. I've been doing that my entire career. I learned from those guys, and those are the guys that keep me going. Why are you so approachable? You act like everybody your friend. Why are you so approachable? You're a star. It's because I learned it from them. And that's how I would watch them, and the ones that would do it the other way. He was just such a nice guy. He was grounded, he was spiritual, and he was funny, as you see.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Miguel, definitely wanted to get your thoughts in here on this part 2 as we celebrate.
Love you, brother.
Roundtree. Brother, always good to see you. Thanks for sharing.
You as well.
Joe, batter up.
Yeah, man, I tell you, it's just an incredible thing to be able to watch actors today more common than maybe we were able to 30, 40 years ago. And we draw experience. We needed to find our heroes where we could, and we still do, because we were often beat down by society, beaten down by government actors, police, etc. So it's really important to be able to have folks that we can root for and to see something in ourselves through them that allows for and facilitates our growth, facilitates us hanging on, facilitates us having something to laugh at, something to cry about, and something to be inspired by. And that's why Richard Roundtree is great.
Indeed. We're going to, do we have our next guest ready? We do. Our next guest was with Richard in a recent movie. They got a chance to work together, chop it up. And so, ladies and gentlemen, Leon. Leon, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, bro. Good to see you.
Man, so good to see you. Just share your thoughts about Richard Roundtree.
Wow. Being an actor of my generation, we had very few people to look up to. Very few people that would, in the movies, we say, wow, I like to be like him. People talk about the black exploitation era, but for us, that was the movies. And for many of us, he was our John Wayne. And so, when I later on in life, getting to meet him, work with him, hang out with him on some leisure time, fun things, it was great. But I'm a believer that when someone passes, and especially when we've accomplished things in life, like all of us here, it's our time to celebrate them. I think this is great what you're doing. We should be celebrating Richard. He has a lot to be celebrated for.
And that's exactly what it's about. I mean, we talk about homegoings, and that's why we called it a celebration of life and legacy. He had that huge smile when you would see him. Every time he would greet you with a hug as well. And I'm sure if he was here, he'd be sitting back cracking up laughing at all the fuss being made about him.
Right, exactly. He was a man's man, put it that way.
Right.
He was the guy that guys wanted to hang out with. Yeah, Richard.
And the movie that y'all did together was called The Sin Choice. Talk about just being able to work with him and watching him work.
Well, I actually got a chance to, he was also in the cast of a series that I did, Diary of a Single Mom with Robert Townsend.
Yep.
And so I got a chance to, be with him there as well. Richard was great, a consummate professional. When I'm working, I'm deep into my character. So, and it was a pleasure to work with. He was easy to work with. He was who he was supposed to be in the scene. And that's all an actor can ever ask for.
Indeed. Leon, we appreciate you taking some time just to share with Richard, his family. They were watching last night. I'm sure they're watching tonight as well. And so we just want them to know that we appreciate them for sharing him with all of us.
Without a doubt, God bless the family. God bless all of us who will miss Richard. And, you know, I'm really happy, Roland, you're doing this. Let this be the start of the celebration of his life, because he had a lot to celebrate.
Indeed. Leon, thanks so much, my brother. I'll see you soon.
All right, without a doubt.
Folks, last year at the 80th birthday celebration in Los Angeles, I caught up with Ben Vereen, who had a couple of things to say about his dear friend, Richard Roundtree.
Richard, he was the icon before icon was a word, okay? Richard and I did Roots together. I'll never forget, I always tell a story, when he had to bow down and grovel, the man said, "You're gonna ask Shaft to grovel, you out of your mind." And he turned to the producer and he said, "You got one take." And he did it, and everybody said, "Okay, good night." That's Richard. Richard is one of the, how can I say this? It's forerunners in our lives. Not only Shaft, he's a great man. I love you. I love you.
All right, folks, got to go to break. We come back. Dr. Greg Carr will share his thoughts. We'll also hear from Mark Curry and also one of the characters in the Soldier Story will share his reflections on Richard Roundtree. Folks, you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network. When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com. When I hear comedian Mark Curry about Richard Roundtree, he said, man, I got to come on because when I did my show, Hanging with Mr. Cooper, I said only Richard Roundtree is going to play my daddy. Mark Curry joins us right now. Mark, glad to see you, my brother.
Nice sweater you got on. I didn't know Chick-fil-A made clothes.
Oh, see, there you go.
No, I didn't know.
There you go, already starting. Okay, you haggard of a man. All right, y'all. You said you personally picked Richard.
Yes, I did, sir. They wanted to get a dad for Mr. Cooper, and they had these guys. They had a couple of guys up. I was like, nah. And so, I was like, let's get Richard Roundtree. I wanted from the Mac, Ron O'Neal from Superfly. That didn't work. Ron Julian from the Mac. That didn't work. So the next one was Shaft, and they didn't want to do Shaft. They didn't. Well, we don't know about him. I said, no, I can't have no. I got to have a powerful father figure, and that's how it came about. And he was a great man. I worked with him. He was so beautiful and positive, and taught me a lot of things about the industry.
And he played your father for how long?
He was my dad for the series for 5 years.
And so being with him, watching him work, watching him do his thing, what did you learn? What do you remember about some of those conversations?
He was such a star, such a big star, but he was so humble and so cool and so smooth. And he taught me, he just taught me little cues on the set. He just, told me some incredible stories. Just being around someone like that, an iconic person that I grew up with, and that was really, really nice. I mean, this dude was beyond nice. I'm sure you met him. You knew how nice he was. He was a different nice.
Oh, yeah.
He was really just different nice. And so it was just great to be with him. I remember working with him, and my daddy, my mom and dad was excited. That's Sham. That's Richard Roundtree. My father, I had a coat like him.
Well, and it absolutely was nice, had that huge smile. But as you said, he understood his craft and was serious about it.
He was serious about it. He was serious about it, knew his lines, was incredible, was humble, handsome. All the ladies liked him. He was smooth. And he taught me some great encouraging words about the industry. He had been in it so long, and he was so iconic to me. He was Shaft. He was the first positive role model black man that I saw in movies that was positive. He was a positive role model. I hate to say, I grew up in Oakland, California. That's where they made the Mac. So, we came from pimping and Mac lifestyles. So that's what I looked at all my life. That's what I remember. But when Shaft came along, Shaft was something that the first time that black people was like, whoa, he's taking up for us. He's taking it to the man. First time you seen a brother saying something to a white man, another white cop on television and not taking it. So he was so positive. He was so awesome. He went with my character, Mr. Cooper.
Well, Mark, we wanted to make sure to get good opportunity to share a few words about Richard. We appreciate you joining us right here on the show.
Thank you, and I like that sweater. Is that stripes from the service, or is that suede?
No, this is from the coldest and the boldest fraternity of them all. Everybody couldn't get in, but you had to go to college first. So my apologies.
I love you, man.
I appreciate it, Mark.
I went to college.
But you had to stay there more than 24 hours.
Yeah. Normally you got a dashiki on. Where's your dashiki?
Oh, but see, I got to hit you with different looks, see, because you can't be expecting a look. But we know you're going to have the same look.
But, it's so beautiful that you work with Richard Roundtree, that we say something to him that's so positive, because he was so iconic. And, the white people ain't going to give him no love. And, it was just, he's the one who set it off. And they called them black exploitation films, but they really weren't.
Well, that's also why, one, black-owned media matters. Two, this is why what happens when you own your stuff, you don't have to ask anybody's permission. Right. And you're right, I looked at a bunch of other networks, and they maybe gave him 2 minutes and 3 minutes. But he meant a hell of a lot more to us. And so we did 3 hours yesterday and an hour today. And he certainly is worth every minute, every second.
Yes, sir. Richard Roundtree, baby. Awesome.
Appreciate it. Mark, thanks a lot. And folks, look out soon for my Rolling with Roland one-on-one interview with Mark Curry. We had a ball when we shot that one. So it's
I'm on tour with Cat Williams, so make sure you guys come see us. We're in Baltimore and where are we at next? Connecticut. They can
go online to find out.
Yes, go online. Thank you very much. I love you, man.
All right, Mark, appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot. Art Evans, y'all, starred in A Soldier Story. I had a chance to catch up with him. He, of course, this was last year at Richard's birthday, and I want to share this here.
Well, we've known each other back in New York. One day I was in New York doing gymnastics, and he was riding a bike. I stopped because I saw him in this latest movie, and he was fabulous as always. And we became friends. I was getting ready to do a movie. I let him look at the script. I did the music and acting, and we've been friends ever since.
What makes him so special, so unique?
Whenever you talk to him, you notice that it's not always about him. He has a wonderful way of engaging you about in the conversation. And he's sense. He's also
would probably do a lot.
Yes, he is.
That's combined with 2 wheels.
Yes,
I didn't think about
I'm sorry I don't have any witty comments to make. I've heard him before.
We all good? So we got it. So just your final thoughts. Richard Brooks, happy birthday.
Folks, that was Art Evans. Richard Brooks played in Being Mary Jane with Richard Roundtree. Also got a chance to catch up with him. Hear his thoughts.
Oh man, it's amazing. You know, I grew up watching Richard now and then have the honor of playing his son and being Mary Jane and getting to hang with him and just see how smooth he stayed forever and ever. You know, it's just been amazing.
So I talked to BJ.
Yeah.
And BJ said, so he came downstairs to the hotel and he wanted to run lines. And Richard just started hitting. He's like, hey man, I ain't got those pages yet.
Right.
And he said he was was always prepared.
Oh man, yeah, Richard is the professional, man. He's the baddest, yeah. No, we always gotta have a great time working together. I mean, it's too bad we don't get to do it more. You know, being Mary Jane was so much fun, but Richard is the tightest, man, yeah.
One of the things that I said, he asked me to speak, I talked about how he represented black manhood.
Right.
So you come being Mary Jane, I mean, so he represented that black father who cared deeply about his family, about his children.
Right, exactly, yeah. Well, being Mary Jane, yeah, Richard was the ultimate father, you know, watching out for being Mary Jane, obviously for Mary Jane and all the boys, the Patterson brothers, and just, you know, it was a rare opportunity to get to play a family like that, you know, to have everybody, mom, dad, brothers, sisters, and just tell that kind of human story. You know, I haven't done that since, like, maybe To Sleep with Anger. So it kind of was really great.
So final words, what you want to tell him about his 80?
Shoot, happy birthday, man, you the man. Another 80, yo, you're just the baddest ever. Love you doubly. Happy birthday, Rich.
All right. That, of course, was last year. Rich only found a couple of months ago that he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, stage 4. He passed away 2 days ago at his Los Angeles home, surrounded by his family. Strong, dignified to the end. Greg Carr.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, facing death like that, man, you know, his last act of cool on this side of Earth, and now he's a powerful ancestor. It's funny, Richard Brooks mentions To Sleep with Anger, the film that Charles Burdett did. Charles Burdett's part of the L.A. Rebellion, the group of filmmakers that Holly Garima, Julie Dash, and others were out there. They chose the independent route. On the other hand, you had folks like, as we know, our brother Melvin Van Peebles with Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song, and then Gordon Parks with Shaft in 1971, 72, 73, who were trying to go the Hollywood route. And Richard Roundtree kind of spans both of those in many ways. A trained actor, you know, with that kind of thing. You know, I came into class this afternoon, my students, and I said, I got a pop quiz question. I said, who is the man who would risk his neck for his brother, man? Silence. Silence. I said, what? Yeah. I said, do y'all? None of them have ever seen Shaft. However, when I mentioned Jesse T. Usher and the third of the Shaft trilogy in terms of the afterlives of Shaft, they said, oh yeah. And Samuel L. Jackson was the bridge there. I bring it up because Gordon Parks said in an interview, he was in London. This is after his son had to call him in New York when they debuted Shaft. And he said, I didn't know whether it was going to be successful. His son called him and said, Dad, you got to get down here. The line is out the building. They're going to have to show it over and over again. He got to London and somebody asked him, a reporter said, well, why did you call it Shaft? And he said, well, it's because we giving the finger to the society. And so even the idea of Shaft, Isaac Hayes saying that he took the soundtrack, and Gordon Parks told him, give me a soundtrack for this man coming up out of the subway with that iconic notion. And he said, it took me a couple of hours, and I wrote the music. I pulled together things we had done, and I put that together. I'm saying that to say that I think there's a reason we call it Life and Times. Richard Roundtree is the life. But the Times was the Black Power movement and the Black Arts movement. And so I stopped and showed the first 5 minutes of Shaft, him coming out of the subway to those students, and it opened up everything. Then I had to show a clip from the Mac and Max Julian. And I said, then they said, now understand Snoop Dogg. Then we had to go and look at Across 110th Street with Yaphet Kotto, and then talk about Pam Grier and Tamara Dobson and Billy D. Williams and Jim Kelly and Jim Brown and Fred the Hammer Williamson. And then they began to understand, okay, this is where we're going with this. This brother, Fred Williamson, is still making movies. But this brother, Richard Roundtree, you know, finally, I'll just say this, seeing Jesse T. Usher, seeing Richard Brooks, seeing, you know, Ben Vereen, people forget Richard Roundtree played Kizzy's boyfriend in Roots. But the new generation, they don't remember any of that, and it's up to us to remind them of that momentum.
See, Randy, Joe, and Greg, at my TV One show, I still do it. if certain folk come on my show, I don't care how old you are, there are certain movies that I will snatch black cards if you have not seen. And so, we had this debate, and we were at Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, and it was several sisters, and it was a young brother. They were like, yo, Roland, you can't be holding that against us because we younger. I'm like, I don't give a damn. I said, I knew about certain movies and certain songs that took place before I was born. I was like, I don't want to hear it. I don't care. If you black, I need everybody listening to me right now. If you black, if your ass ain't seen Car Wash, Coolie High, the original Shaft, those are three that you need to absolutely watch. I remember, so Tiffany Lofton, Tiffany was so funny. She hit me one night, and I said I mentioned Car Wash. She said, well, I ain't never seen Car Wash. I cussed. I said, Tiffany, you are not allowed on my show ever again until you watch Car Wash. She said, Uncle Ro, I'm coming to your house tonight. So her and some friends got in their car. They were complaining because I live in Northern Virginia. You live too far. I'm like, shut up. I'm like, I'm from Houston. That ain't far. And so made her watch Car Wash. And the reason I say that is what you just described, Greg. You can't, I need people who are millennials and Gen X, millennials and Gen Z, just like Gen X need to understand what you're seeing in this black world didn't start with you. Right. Something set that up. And so you can't, if you love Lawrence Fishburne as Morpheus in The Matrix, all you are watching is the reincarnation of John Shaft, down to the leather coat. And so too many folk when you don't have that historical reference. I had somebody who was joking with me, and Ali Sadiq makes this joke a lot. He said, we were on Instagram Live, and he said, y'all know, he said that Roland he gonna bring up something Dr. King said. And I was like, you absolutely right. Because the problem for me, Randy, is when you are devoid of historical context, then you don't really understand what is happening today if you're missing the historical context.
You really do not. You really do not. Like you had it. Oh, so much you said right there. Like, first of all, when you were saying you make people watch it, I used to make my sons. That's the time, like Thanksgiving and Christmas, they have to watch certain movies. I believe it's part of their education. And it does reflect exactly where we've been and how times have changed. But if you don't know where you have been and you don't feel, it really just, I feel, builds a person's self-esteem also to know what we have been through. Right, and where we have been and what we need to do now going forward. So I agree with you on those movies you listed. There's a few more that we have to add to it that people need to understand, our history. Yes, 1,000% on that.
Greg, I want to go back, because again, we talk about Richard Roundtree. He was an Ebony Fashion Fair model.
Yes.
All right. Now there's somebody watching right now going, the hell is Ebony Fashion Fair model?
That was it.
First, what the black folks need to understand, Greg, is that Ebony Fashion Fair tour was one of the largest fundraisers for black organizations nationwide. A lot of people have no understanding that when Ebony Fashion Fair, when that modeling tour, when they hit the city, tickets sold out, millions of dollars were raised for the Ebony Fashion Fair. And Greg, and to understand, Richard never forgot. I'm gonna show y'all. So I want y'all to see this video from his birthday party. I just want y'all, there's no sound, but I just want y'all to watch how Richard ain't never stopped being the model, okay? Now you see right here, got the shades on. Now the cameraman gonna sit here. So the whole deal, the pose, the look, the outfit he got on, head to toe, he was always clean. Face was always, he wasn't never like unruly with his beard and his mustache and all of that. Now, I think right now he's gonna take the shades off. And I want y'all to look at that look. See, he talking to the camera. He talking to the camera. So he might have been 80 years old, but he ain't forget how to be that Ebony Fashion Fair model, Greg.
No, not at all. And I'm glad you brought up Ebony Fashion Fair, Roland, because again, this is a guy who, star high school athlete on scholarship at Southern Illinois and moves into Ebony Fashion Fair while he was in college, moves there. And that gets him to New York, as you said. A generation doesn't understand the importance of Johnson Publications. Again, black institutions, black media. It wasn't just Ebony. It wasn't just Negro Digest and Black World and Jet. It was the Ebony Fashion Fair offshoot. And as you said, those of us who are old enough to remember in Ebony when they would put the names of the black institutions, the Prince Hall Masons, the Order of Eastern Star, the Black Fraternities and Sororities, the sponsors from city to city to city, that gets him to New York to join the Negro Ensemble Company. And of course, he then, from there, of course, the rest is history. I mean, he plays the Jack Johnson figure in The Great White Hope before James Earl Jones.
Right.
But it's the Ebony Fashion Fair that moves him into that power at that moment. And then, of course, finally, the convergence then of that Black Power, Black Arts movement of the 60s. He's in the right place at the right time for Gordon Parks and to converge with him and to make that move. And of course, Roland, like you said, black cars could be snatched. And in the defense of the young people, they did know him from being Mary Jane and from that TV series with Ava DuVernay. But they recognized him as an elder statesman. But what today showed me, and I think you've just reinforced it, is we have an obligation to our young people to sit them down and to understand the choices. Shaft was a character written in a series of novels by a white man, Ernest Tinyman. Gordon Parks said we couldn't use that. I had to rewrite it. And then they made Shaft's Big Score and Shaft in Africa, filmed in Ethiopia. It's our obligation to have young people do that. And that Ebony Fashion Fair, man, I think you can't overstate the importance because that was a black institution.
Yeah.
And that was a black institution that put our resources in our community.
Randy, go ahead.
I was just saying, I got to do a shout out to my friend, Ayanna Jenkins Toney. She is a big time lawyer. I'm talking very successful, Howard grad, big Delta. I mean, all these accolades. But honey, what she's going to brag about if you give her a chance is that she used to model for Ebony Fashion Fair because in the black community, that was it. I mean, that was it. That was the ultimate.
About a couple more things I want to show y'all folks before we end tonight's show. And actually TV One at 8 p.m. Eastern is doing the re-airing of the Shaft Unsung featuring Richard Roundtree. And so I got it recorded. So at 8 p.m. Eastern on TV One, they're going to be re-airing that Unsung. I'm going to do this here first. Seth the Entertainer was at that party a year ago. I reached out to Sid to come on the show. Sid is traveling, but he did send a video because he wanted to be a part of this tribute.
What up, Roland? Sid the Entertainer here, man. Just a shout out, man. I know that you are honoring the legendary Mr. Richard Roundtree,
Carol,
who was, again, amazing on film, television, and in real life. This dude was just a really elegant, sharp man who always represented what it was to be a black man. And I mean, his character Shaft was one that I grew up seeing in the movie theater. He was one of the first images that we saw someone being really fully them whole self on screen. Bad dude, could fight, look good, dress sharp. And boy, when he got in the shower with that white woman, we was like, ooh, he out of control. He doing too much right then. But no, man, but definitely Shaft was, really that first black actions hero that we saw on screen and fell in love with and loved the character, which led to the longevity of the movies, even with Sam Jackson coming the new version of it. But Richard Roundtree was just a great man, and I remember a couple of years ago, he came and participated in my golf tournament and just was super, gracious to everybody who came up to him, had a really great time. That's what he was. And when I told my son that he was the original Shaft, my son got super excited to meet him. And so, and Richard, Mr. Roundtree got a big kick out of how excited my son was and knew who he was and just loved the idea that he was meeting him. So I'm going to attach a image of that. But I just love the smiles on their face and the joy that they got these generations meeting each other. And that's just the kind of guy he was. So R.I.P., good sir. You one of the best to ever do it. You definitely was someone that inspired me in many, many ways. And rest easy, rest in heaven, sir. All right? All right, I'll holler.
I'm telling you, Joe, I just don't, I mean, people, to Greg's point, talking to his students, I really hope people today understand the times that we were in coming out of the civil rights movement. And the images we had, Harry Belafonte, Bill Cosby, Sidney Poitier, and how they were dignified, how they carried themselves, and all of that. But what people are going to learn when they watch the Unsung, all the major black actors at the time read for that role. Jim Brown, Fred Williamson, Billy D. Williams. But Gordon Parks wanted a certain look. And what was amazing is Gordon Parks deliberately, like if you see the clip, what Gordon Parks was saying, I don't want a fair-skinned, light-skinned, medium-toned brother. He wanted a dark-skinned black man with an afro, and they said, the producer said, he had everything we want. The stature, the look. I really believe, because I'm telling you, when you approach Richard, it was sort of like the first time I approached Vernon Jordan. I said, man, that brother looked like an African prince. The reality is, that was really what Gordon Parks was going after, and that's why just that character resonated so much for a whole generation of black people.
I don't think there's any question about that. And so not only was Gordon Parks intentional about that, about Richard Roundtree visually, but he's also intentional, and we were intentional in our movies, about the sounds. Often the music is the bridge to the young people. I'll give you a perfect example. You're talking about Car Wash. Julia was 3 years old. Car Wash was her favorite record. And so we were in a hotel in Chicago, I'll never forget. And she was laying into the hook as we're walking with this brother who's a black bell guy. And she goes, working at the car wash. And then, whoa, whoa, whoa. Guy stopped what he was doing, put the bags down, looked down at her and said, what you know about car wash? You know, so with Shaft, it was the great Isaac Hayes. With that music, a lot of times these kids will know the music, but not necessarily know the movie. So we can do some things to connect the dots. Gordon, Melvin Van Peebles, all these brothers, Spike Lee, were all very, very intentional about what they put on. If you'll remember, you know, Public Enemy had to make several attempts to get at the anthem for Do the Right Thing, which was Fight the Power. And so often we can use these bridges 2-3 different ways. Now we've created a conversation to open them up to the movie. So now they're putting the music together with the movie. Now they're seeing similarities to what they see now versus what they did then, because you're not going to know where you're going until you know where you've been.
There was an amazing tribute that was placed on Instagram by Sky P. Marshall. Guys, if you go ahead and play that, do y'all have the video? Okay, go ahead and play it, and I'm gonna read it while it plays. Seeing you. Pull the music down so I can talk. She said, I love Richard with my whole heart, and he loved me. Today he passed away at age 81. I felt my chest crack in agony as I fell to my knees. I convinced myself that he was immortal. On his 81st birthday this past July, we went to dinner and I asked him the question I would ask him every birthday, Richard, are you happy? He said with that sparkling smile, very happy. I have my family and that's all I could ask for. A few weeks ago while we were out, he bought us evil eye friendship rings, the last photo in this video. He explained to me how it was symbolic for spiritual protection. He knew what was approaching. I did not. He never mentioned cancer. I had no idea that was going to be our last day together. We were only meant to have lunch that afternoon. Then lunch turned to furniture shopping. That turned to rug shopping. Then jewelry shopping till we were hungry again and grabbed sushi dinner. It was like he didn't want our day to end. He hugged me differently. It was longer and tighter. We said, I love you, a perfect day. Me and Tree, he was an incredible man, a compassionate friend, a distinguished gentleman, a king amongst men, a true legend. Cherish the moments you have with the ones you love. Celebrate them and always keep your heart open to new love, because real love is what truly matters the most. I just gained another guardian angel, and he will protect me and his beautiful family. I love you and will forever miss you, my dear Richard. Rest easy, old friend. I'll be seeing you.
That's really beautiful.
Indeed. Folks, I'm going to close this out with something. Again, it's amazing, like, you do stuff and you don't even realize all the stuff that you do. But 11 years ago, we were in Los Angeles for our annual Hollywood show on TV One's Washington Watch. And it was crazy. TV One, they sent me the whole video. And on here, my goodness, I interviewed Senator Kamala Harris, interviewed Shirley Ralph, Denise Williams, all kind of folks. And I didn't even realize, even there's a segment here with I'm watching Lou Gossett, Lamont Rucker. But we also did a segment with a group of brothers, and we're going to close the show out with this. And so, again, it's amazing when you just, like I said, you forget all the stuff that you actually do. And so this was a great segment here that we're going to close out this celebration of Richard Roundtree's life with. Again, Greg, Randy, Joe, I appreciate y'all being on today's show. This is 11 years ago, folks, TV One's Washington. This is 11 years ago, TV One's Washington Watch, where I did a panel on black male actors, in talking with Richard Roundtree, Brian White, Dondre Whitfield, and Phil Morris. Folks, I'll see you tomorrow right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
This year saw the release of the movie Red Tails, the story of the Tuskegee Airmen, and starring an almost all-black cast, all playing great American heroes. But it has been a long struggle for black actors to get the variety of roles that reflect the diversity of the black experience. 4 men who have succeeded are here today to talk about images of black men on TV and in films. We have Brian White, Richard Roundtree, Dondre Whitfield, and Phil Morris. The ladies who work on this show have been very excited about this panel. Gentlemen, certainly glad that you are here. What we talk about? I don't know why you have all these young kids up in here. What is the deal? Well, actually, they were all afraid of you because they were like, well, we know how the sister's going to respond to Chad. I can let you know.
Yeah, put him in the middle.
We're here partially due to him.
Yeah, Mr. Cool, Mr.
Exactly.
Cool right here.
Paved the way.
It's interesting when, I'm very critical when I look at these commercials and men look like just absolute fools, can't raise children, can't do anything. And then when you look at some of these shows, folks are just out of control. As African-American men, when you're sitting here getting these scripts coming across your desk, are you very clear that, look, I'm gonna represent brothers. There are men who are watching me. There are, uncles and cousins and brothers, but also guys I don't know. They need to see themselves on the screen, not just acting a fool.
I'm glad that you said that, and because we were talking a lot about this earlier. And as a father of 2, I have a daughter who's 7 years old, and one of the things that she takes tremendous pride in is the fact that I can actually braid her hair. And as a father,
yeah, that's a skill set there, bro.
I mean, it's just that I see what it's done for our relationship. And to have that in my personal life and to reflect that in some of the things that I do in my work so that others can see, hey man, not only are you capable of that, it doesn't make you less of a man for doing it. In fact, it makes you more of a man for doing it because it galvanizes that kind of energy and that kind of emotional connection with your family.
I was really fortunate to come out of a household where my father not only was bringing that image to the screen, but brought it home for me to see up close and personal. So I got kind of a twofer. And it is my duty to continue to push that integrity rock forward.
And of course, folks out there, your father,
Greg Morris from the original Mission Impossible series, not the movie.
There you go. And I got to ask you this, Richard, because what I've always appreciated, you talked about publicly, people say, Shaft, and you're like, look, I've done more than that. But what I most appreciate, whether it was that role, whether when you were on Rock, you were clear. I watch stuff now. You made it clear, I'm an unapologetic black man, that I'm going to represent black male strength when I walk into the room.
I had a reality check early on, Shaft in Africa, and my oldest daughter was going to Hollywood High, and she came on and had this long look on her face. I said, what's wrong? I said, Dad, were you naked in the movie? Oh, yeah. So everyone in the school said they saw you naked. And up to that point, I wasn't really on top of what I was doing on film to the way I should have been. But that was a reality check. I said, this is forever.
Forever.
When you put it up there on screen, this is forever. And that moment, I became very aware of what I put on the screen.
And how important it is and how that actually moves people. I mean, our figures, I mean, our dynamic box office stars, opening up a can of worms, but this is where we're going. I mean, the Caucasian stars are not being asked to, you know, they're not held to that standard. They're not asked to wear dresses and play drag queens and over the top, you know, characters like that the way ours are. It was really eye-opening for me when I saw Dave Chappelle do an interview on Oprah where he talked about doing this film with Martin, and he walked into his trailer, and there was a dress in there. And he said, I must be in the wrong trailer, because there's a dress in here. Well, then the writer, the director, producers, they all go in, and they're like, man, this is going to be hilarious. It's just going to, and he's like, no, man, I'm funnier than a dress. Just give me something funny to do. I don't need a dress to be funny.
Right. Exactly. I mean, you talk about duty and a responsibility. I mean, all of our families carved out their stake, and they created the American dream and then created a path for us. I grew up on the Cosby Show. I grew up seeing Felicia Rashad and Bill Cosby, doctors and lawyers. And the images that we have today that are celebrated and glorified in the media for our people, for African Americans, don't measure up to that standard. So we've gone backwards. My grandmother is a college graduate and had two brothers that passed. She claimed her blackness, was proud of it, fought for her education, and passed that down to my mom, who passed it down to me, to aspire to be educated and successful, etc. And not paying homage to what they went through is ridiculous.
You know, it's interesting because we got it at home, but a lot of our people do not get it at home. So it is incumbent upon us when we put these images out to multi-million viewers to help them, assist them understand that's what's possible. Just because you didn't have it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
No, that's a very broad brush, I think you're painting that, because when I look at guys like Fishburne and Mr. Gossett back there, I mean, there is a number of us who are doing the right role models.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
So we're not necessarily being celebrated for doing the right
It
thing.
is interesting. I was debating some folks on Twitter and Facebook, and we were talking about films, and they were talking about, they were highly critical, Tyler Perry, things along those lines. And I said, you know what's interesting? I said, of all the Tyler Perry films, my favorite, Daddy's Little Girls. Here was a movie with Idris Elba playing a strong brother. He said, look, I've had some stuff in my past, but I'm taking care of my kids. For me, it is important when I see brothers truly representing on the screen and making it clear, as Dave Chappelle said, I'm not going to be a buffoon. I like comedy. I like those things. But I do think it's important when we see us walking tall, demanding respect, and not simply bowing down to somebody else's stereotype of who we are.
And that's what I'm talking about, celebrating and being ahead of the curve, making sure that everybody is aware of the great roles, the great performances, the upstanding portrayals, and you know, we're a little bit behind the curve. You know, we celebrate when the Golden Globes came knocking. That's not our organization. The NAACP Awards is after the Golden Globes. So we need to be front-running, saying, look at this. This is the examples we need to be aspiring to. You know, the examples are there. They're bountiful. They're just not glorified.
That's another issue also, because sometimes the organizations or entities that claim to be the ones that are our flagships and supposed to be the ones blowing, you know, our horn in terms of celebrating who and what we are so worried about servicing so many things that they lose sight and lose track of
what the cause was supposed to be, which was actually celebrating us. And they begin celebrating others more than they celebrate us.
Well, I'll tell you what, the one thing that I will always appreciate and why I wanted to have this panel is because, again, to have black men speaking about why we must represent on air. And I make it a point. I love to have fun on the air. I love to talk about wearing ascots and all those things along those lines. But I do know for a fact when young kids walk up to me, 11, 12, who literally say, I watch you, I listen to you, and I want to hear what you have to say, we are presenting an image out there. And I want them to say that I'm watching you versus some fool over here who's cussing someone out on some reality show, because we've got to actually have that. So I say
you represent balance.
And we got to have balance.
You can be intelligent, you can be funny, you can be all those things.
He represents truth. There's not a lot of places where I can turn on the dial and see somebody looks just like me telling the truth.
Right, without an agenda.
Yes.
We can't always have an agenda, because then it reeks of misinformation and false hopes. As you know, being a politician, history is written by those in power.
Yep.
So the images that are being put forth by those in power. The more of us we have in power.
That's why, like I have the power of my microphone.
There you go.
Brian, Richard, Andre, Phil, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Keep it up, gents. All right, then up next, my perspective on the Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches. I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland. Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?